I work with my oldest son,
Yeah.
Buddy, and the way that all came about was in 2003. We were homeschooling our kids. Buddy was 13 at the time, and Buddy's very, very intelligent, but he has a struggle with ADD, paying attention, and he struggled with getting 1 page of schoolwork done a day, and my wife was just at her wit's end. Buddy was frustrated. So at the time, I had the ability, time-wise, to say, hey, Buddy, how about if you and I start a father-son landscape business, and I'll use the business as a teaching platform, and I'll homeschool you through the business.
Yeah.
So he was all for that. Obviously, he would be, and my wife, liked that. Teresa liked the idea, so that's what we did.
Yeah.
So in May of 2003, we launched Father and Son. It was landscape at the time. And we started a business, and what I did is, as we were driving around in the truck, we listened to books on tape. We used the newspaper for current events and things like geography and history, and I used the business as far as balancing the checkbook and stuff like that to teach them math. And we did that for 4 or 5 years. And then when he turned 18, he took his GED, passed it with flying colors, was in like the top 3%, something like that.
Man, that's amazing.
So yeah, he did really, picked up a lot. He's very, like I say, he's very intelligent. And then he decided he wanted to do something a little different, so he went into the Army.
Okay.
For 7 years.
Okay.
And when he came back out, he kind of looked around, trying to decide what he wanted to do, and decided to come back to work with me.
Yeah.
And has been with me ever since.
Wow.
And it's been just I feel like I'm living the dream.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a couple things I picked up on that. So one of them was the ADD thing, because I've had people close to me wrestle with that. And a lot of times from the books that I've read about it, there can be some frustrations, right? Especially on both sides, because you're asking someone, hey, focus, concentrate, right? Which it's easy for us to do if we don't have it. At the same time, they're trying, like it's not something that they want to struggle with. They have to, wrestle through it, and it's hard for them to, to focus on that. And then at that point, it can lead to a lot of insecurity, because you're like, why am I different? Why am I wrestling with this?
Right.
But the way that you handled it, you gave him an avenue to be able to develop and overcome and tame that, right? As opposed to just coming down, hard on him and things like that. So that in itself is beautiful. And then the other part that I picked up on was you chose this, right? Obviously went through the boss, right? Like asked the wife, but you chose this as a path. You offered it, and then he returned, and after a few years, he chose it too, right? Like he chose it back.
Right.
And that to me is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Is he's choosing the family business out of his own, having experienced some other things and grown, and I'm sure developed there as well, but choosing that and getting the chance to continue that relationship, right there, in your daily life, It's cool, man.
It is wonderful. And right now his function in the business is our sales manager.
Okay.
So he has 3 salespeople that he manages, and it's so funny because I've worked with him and just poured myself into him, and now I have the opportunity to see him. Everything that I put in him coming back out, and it's just so rewarding as a father.
Yeah.
And it is really, really a wonderful
thing. We've talked a little bit about that before. For me, my kids are young, and I'm learning what it's like to be an active father. I really think we talked about the dangers of modern society and social media, and it's scary, but there's also access to good information, right? There's access to, hey, here's what fathers can do to play a more active role that maybe 20, 30 years ago we hadn't considered, So, and especially as more women are working and things like that, there's a shift, I think, in what it means to be a father, right? So something that I'm picking up on and seeing kind of the rewards of what that can be. It's kind of exciting. So.
Yeah, I feel, again, we've got all our kids are grown now, and they're all out of the house. I feel, Wes, I really feel like I've hit the lottery because all our kids are grown. They're all pursuing careers that they love. they're all but one are married, and that's Judah. He's still in the military or the
Marine
Marines,
thing,
and
yeah.
he's not ready
Yeah.
for that yet, which is fine. That's
Yeah.
wisdom right there. But you know, they're all doing well, and we enjoy a very close relationship
Yeah.
with each one of them.
Yeah.
And you know what? That as a parent, you can't ask for anything
Yeah.
more than that. What you're going through right now with your kids, eight years old and under.
Yeah.
You know, everything that you pour into them now, and as you know, between now and when they leave the house, is a foundation for what you will enjoy when they have their own families.
Yeah.
Because that's where the real reward comes in, is when you can enjoy your kids as adults.
Well, like one of the things that, you know, we talked about it for a minute, but, you know, communicating with your son as he's going through a hard time with ADHD, you knew how to talk to him, clearly. Like, you knew how to communicate it in a way and respect his decision making. That's what I work really hard to do with my kids. It's like, let's get down to their level. You know, let me not talk to them as an adult, you know, like coming down on them. If I have to do that, like I will, but that's the last resort. The first one is, let me understand where they're at and try to put my head back into that place as best I can of like a kid who doesn't have control, doesn't know what's going on. Why am I feeling this way or that? And then bring to that point. It's easy the older we get to forget that part, to forget what it's like to be a kid without that control. So I work pretty hard to do that, to be able to nurture that relationship.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
I'll give you an example. Is one of the first times I put my kids in timeout, they took it really hard, really hard. They were like crying and stuff and everything. And I was like, just put them in timeout for 30 seconds, right? Like it's a minute, you know? And so the next time, and I organized this with my wife, the next time I had the opportunity with both kids in the room, I like dropped a plate, right? Like, and it like broke, and I had my wife put me in timeout, right? I was like, Daddy made a mistake. And then I went like, and took my, you know, big old self and like pointed my nose in the corner for 2 minutes. And I was like, see, Daddy messes up too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not personal, right? Like, I don't want them to be scared of me. I want them to develop that relationship, and for us to be able to respect one another and things like that. So,
you know, and that, you know, what you say there, I think is one of the most critical things we can do as a parent is in front of our kids, admit when we're wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and let them and if we've done something that we know to offend them, apologize to them.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we have to do to keep that relationship open, you know, and keep them from closing off their hearts to us, and keeping that relationship, that's always critical.
It's just now my kids use that at like every juncture. They're like, "Mommy, put him in timeout." Like, I mean, no matter what I say.